What has happened, everyone? Hopefully we're doing good this week. Let's just get into the weekly outlook coming into this week. So last week I was able to catch, I thought I'd leave it up there, these two trades, 1 to 8 and 1 to 8, 1 to 7.6 and 1 to, I took this at about a 1 to 8. So I will have case studies for both of these coming out. I will upload them on YouTube, and obviously you'll get the in-depth one in the premium group. So they will be handled as such. Okay, now let's kind of get into what I'm expecting coming into this week. So let's remove all of this on these lower time frames. We don't need these anymore. We can kind of focus on what we've got. Okay, beautiful. All right, so let's jump on a 4-hour time frame. As you can see on the 4-hourly on these, let's remove these as well. Settings. We want it so you can't see on the hourly. Beautiful. So as you can see on the 4-hour, we are pushing up, okay? The only problem with pushing up from where we are is I don't expect it to hold, especially from a higher time frame perspective. So even on the daily, as you can see, we're getting a lot of movement away from this area here. On the weekly, we've obviously broken somewhat to the downside. So you've got high, low, high, broken here. So we're at the point now where we either find we make a new lower low, or we break that and make a new higher high and continue bullish, realistically, on the weekly. Now on the daily, we're more or less working with the same type of situation. We've broken down here. If we zoom in a little bit more, we've actually broken up on the daily. I'm going to have that as my daily break, something like this. Depends where your daily starts. You can have that as your daily. It's just a very, very extended range. I'm going to actually use more or less this is my daily. So what I've kind of got is I've got this break that obviously forced its way up here on the daily. We've then come up and pulled back into this area here, and now we're starting to push up again. So I expected more of a deeper retracement into this area, but we have retraced into this area and we are showing a bit of reaction up. So we are at that 50-50. Are we holding here or are we holding here? Weekly says that we're now bearish. Daily says that we're now bullish. We have that complete conflict of time frames. On the 4-hour, we've obviously got this more or less this range here. That's kind of our bullish range if we work on the 4-hourly. This low to this high. We've come down and respected this area and kind of pushed up. And as you can see, we're kind of losing a little bit of momentum to the upside now. So when I say that it is literally at that 50-50 area, I believe it's at that 50-50 area. So we've got this bigger range here. This is my last 4-hour range. Here, we obviously had that retest. I'm actually more or less expecting us, with what the weekly's doing and what the daily's doing, to come a little lower and at least take that break and retest. Once we've taken that break and retest, we'll either continue with the daily upwards, or we'll continue with that weekly, and the daily will then become bearish. So at the moment, there's nothing we can really predict in terms of a higher time frame, because we are in between those areas. And I'm happy to actually use this still as my last 4-hour range. What we've now done is we've come and taken this retest here, and now we're getting that immediate movement away from here, which is really, really clean. So I actually do like that a lot in terms of a 4-hour range. So I'm going to mark this out as a 4-hour take of liquidity here, which is really, really clean. Like I said, we can remove all of that like that. And that's our internal break there. So I really do like this as a 4-hour take of liquidity. I didn't expect this low to hold either. So given that's the case, I would actually really like to kind of continue that bearish. But just understanding our last internal 4-hour is here. We've made that low and we haven't made the high. So from this area here, we're either going to push up and continue making that high to make higher highs and come for the here, which is just a higher high that sits there that hasn't broken structure really at all. Or what we'll do is we'll kind of see that drop off now to come and take this liquidity and come and take this liquidity. So we're at that 50-50 area. On the 15-minute coming into today, we have now reacted from the extreme. What I've got as my extreme on the 15-minute, that is my bearish 15-minute structure. And realistically, from a 4-hour perspective, we should be at least more or less coming to this area here. So this is the area I want to come and target and kind of come and get. Until we get here, I don't really see any need to buy, unless we're just inducing some of those sellers, and we're going to push up through. But I do like sells. I really do like sells. So internally, we've obviously had that really, really small break. I'm not going to worry about that as really anything. We've more or less got the decisional, which was our internal break here. We've then internally broken and we've got nothing to work off of. This is the decisional of that internal break. I want to come and take that. So coming into today, coming into the Monday, I'm looking to just sell. In terms of what we've got to sell, we don't have a lot of really anything to go after. we've more or less mitigated this area and pushed away. Realistically, I would just want to see some type of structure through here that gives me some type of trap entry, multiple trap entries that gives us an entry through here. As for my high time frame outlook with arrows and such, I'll actually upload that on Instagram. So if you want to go look at that, I'll send it through the Telegram as well. But that's more or less on the 15-minute time frame coming into today. GU on a higher time frame, we can jump up and have a look. On the weekly, like I said, with EU, we're kind of getting a reaction off of these highs we've taken here, and we're getting that really, really good fall off. We have broken and then we broke up, and now we're kind of in this area on the weekly, in this range here. Are we going to make a new higher high, or are we going to make a new lower low and change the direction of where we're going? I'm not going to zoom out too far, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. On the daily, as you can see, we've created a new higher high. We've then pulled back into this area and created another higher high, but the ranges are getting smaller, and they're actually quite shitty ranges realistically. We could use this, like I said, as our weekly, which means the daily I'm happy to use the internal structure to the downside. You've got this pullback, we're pulling back this way, so there's multiple ways to look at this. This could be like that and like that, but I'm going to focus even more on an internal time frame on the daily in terms of push up, break, pull back into this area, push up, break, pull back into this area, and then continuing pushing up to that higher high, because we are bullish. We are bullish on that higher time frame. So we're going to keep following that until it tells us something different. We can remove these for a minute. On the 4 hour, what we've got is this is my last range. I'm happy to use this low to this high. More or less, it's such a large range. I don't really like to use it. I like to focus on where price is right now. And 4 hourly right now, we've got that break, we've got that retest now. We've just kind of worked our way away from that. As you can see, we're getting that confusion through on those time frames. So we've got to use that to the best of our ability. So if we remove that so we can't see it, I would still like to come down here. I don't think this area will hold. I don't think it holds enough weight to hold. So sells do make a lot more sense. Only problem being, this is our last 4 hour push. We've then pulled back, retraced into an area, and now we're failing to break high again. So down to the 15-minute, what am I expecting coming to today? We're reacting out of this point. I really don't like this point. On my bullish range, realistically, was this range here, which has failed to make a higher high. There's nothing else to go off of internally in here because we didn't make a higher high. It's just not breaking. So we can work kind of internal the other way. We've got internal break and retest, push through. We've then broken high, and this will be a medium inducement into a mitigation, but I think we're more likely to actually come and head down here. This is a very small internal range, but we're just working too internal at that point. If we do have that as a break, being that that was my last bigger 15-minute range, we're getting so internal. I do like the reaction off of the extreme, but given EU, I'm not thinking this will hold. I've actually got this range as so 50-50. I actually don't necessarily have a read coming into today, especially with what Asia session's done. It should just sell off given the liquidity we've got below. But like I said, on a higher time frame, we are against those time frames at the moment. So unfortunately now, they're probably the only two pairs I'm going to go in depth on. AU at the moment is just not worth it. It's actually quite shit, to be honest. So I'm not going to read too far into this pair. On a higher time frame, we're just stalling, and that comes through with, on the weekly, we've now taken a really, really important set of highs over here. Obviously, our last weekly range is very, very bullish. On the daily, we've obviously broken and pulled back and broken up again, so we're expecting that retracement. This can also be a bit of liquidity to come target. And on the 4 hour, we're just extending ranges. So we're definitely in that complex pullback point at the moment. I'd be expecting for us to at least come below this low. So it'd be nice to get that bit of a fall off here. If we jump down to the 15-minute and read what we've got a really good break here. We've then come up to this, more or less this 15-minute area that sits up here, and then it's just garbage. So I might look at AU coming later into the week, but at the moment, I'm not interested at all. The DXY, I'm expecting to come lower. We have majorly induced into this area. Like I said, I'm expected to come lower. From a daily perspective, we are creating lower lows. We have broken, pulled up, broken, pulled up. And then you've obviously got the weekly, which is very, very bullish at the moment with the break of that high. So we've retraced far enough now that we can kind of pull back up. I just think we'll come a little bit lower. I think we've got to come and take this liquidity. All of this is filled in here, so it can push up from here. I just don't think it's overly likely, but the lower time frame is telling us that's the case. But the DXY at the moment, I believe, is unreadable. So I will be focusing more on the individual pairs themselves and going from there. So sells on EU coming today. GU more or less the same, given that we didn't break that higher high. From a 15-minute standpoint perspective, this is still my bullish range that I've got here. We have mitigated this area and pushed up. So this will be a really good medium inducement into mitigation. But until we get into that point, we've obviously taken retest, reacted out of extreme. I have to buy according to my rules. If we read internally what we've got, internal break with retest, there's nothing I can do there either. So GU is untouchable for me today. EU is the only one on the cards, which is I would like to sell through here. Once we've taken this point, I'm quite happy to buy. Okay, quite happy to buy. And we'll see what that presents. Okie dokie. Also, given that that's an internal range and we have come to the extreme, it's less likely to buy. We're more likely to sell. So I would like to get into those sells. But once I've taken that, I'll have to wait for some type of new entry model. But that's what we're looking at today. So I've got those case studies coming, so make sure you guys are subscribed. What was it? 1 to 7 and 1 to 8, I believe. Really, really good week for me last week. Any questions, drop them below. Telegram below, Premium Group below. And I will see you guys tomorrow.